Ukraine's long-awaited counteroffensive is gaining traction, according to Kiev's Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar, who said Monday that Ukraine had retaken 8 villages in the last 2 weeks. The village of Pyatikhatki, in the contested Zaporizhia region of southern Ukraine, is now under Ukrainian control, Russian-installed official Vladimir Rogov wrote on Telegram on Sunday. Ukrainian forces sustained enormous losses, but Kiev's operations yielded results, he said. But according to Maliar, Ukrainian troops had not only retaken the settlement, but had advanced nearly 4.5 miles into Russian lines over the last 2 weeks and liberated an area the size of nearly 44 square miles. Another 7 towns were also retaken by Ukrainian troops, including 2 in the Zaporizhia region and 4 towns to the east, just over the border in the Donetsk region. Fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces has intensified over recent weeks as Kiev launched counteroffensive operations in at least 3 areas of the front line spanning southern to eastern Ukraine. The successful push south by Ukrainian forces is significant, as it suggests Ukraine's counteroffensive has its sights on a vital triangle area in the Zaporizhia region. The region is defined by transport routes between the sites of Melitopol, Tokmak, and Vasilyevka, which is just 10 miles south of the recaptured settlement of Pyatikhatki. According to Western defense analysts, taking this area will not only be crucial for Ukraine's ability to force out Russian troops from areas to the west, like Kherson, but it will also enable Ukrainian troops to push south toward the Sea of Azov and Crimea. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday warned that despite the advances, the area in Zaporizhia, which he referred to as the Tavria sector, remains the toughest front in the war. It's becoming increasingly clear that Ukraine could have a long and bloody slog ahead of it when it comes to its counteroffensive aiming at recapturing Russian-occupied territory in the south and east of the country. Ukraine's top commander, General Valery Zaluzhny, may not yet know where he will sink the bulk of his newly trained and equipped forces. Some estimates suggest only a quarter of Ukraine's fresh units, bolstered by NATO training and supplies, are now in the fight. Zaluzhny has said nothing about his plans yet. He may be waiting to see where ammunition and resupply worsens first, or where Russia appears unwilling to sink extra reserves. While still in its infancy, Ukraine's counteroffensive has produced only limited gains so far, with 8 settlements reclaimed in the last 2 weeks. Ukrainian officials are the first to admit that the country's armed forces face a tough duel with Russia in the weeks and months ahead. We knew from before we started the counteroffensive that this wasn't going to be a walk in the park, a senior advisor in Ukraine's defense ministry said. Russians had months to prepare for it. We knew that they have built very, very strongly fortified defense lines, that they have laid millions of mines along the front line. They're dug in so deep that we already had a very good idea that this will be not an easy task, he added. Need for more weapons. An oft-heard cry from Kyiv has been for more weapons from its international allies, and more crucially, the fast delivery of those weapons to Ukraine. Indeed, in the time Ukraine has waited to launch its counteroffensive, facing inclement weather and muddy ground conditions, and awaiting a long-awaited decision on the supply of battle tanks such as Leopard 2s, Russia has been able to build deep defenses in occupied territory. A video which was circulated on Telegram showed one British Challenger 2 advancing around the front line amid Ukraine's much-anticipated counteroffensive, which launched earlier this month. The tank has appeared at a time in which Ukrainian generals are understood to have paused advancements in recent days to recoup and find a way to punch through Russian territory without suffering huge casualties. From a distance, the war in Ukraine can easily be portrayed as a battle that will hinge on the provision and use of Western tanks, rockets, and other equipment. But on the front, as significant are other locally developed weapons, most notably the new $400, 312-pound, or $500 drones being used not for surveillance, but in attack. The U.S. is poised to deliver 31 M1A2 Abrams tanks to Ukraine by this fall, bolstering the country's armored capabilities after European countries delivered many German-made Leopard 2s earlier this year. Ukrainian troops are currently training on how to use and maintain Abrams vehicles in Germany. With depleted uranium shells, the Abrams tanks are capable of penetrating even the thickest armor on Russian tanks from long range. The advanced shells sport unmatched penetrating power and are widely used for anti-armor use within the U.S. military. President Biden's Defense Department has strongly pushed for sending the shells to Ukraine along with the U.S. tanks, though some in the administration have raised questions about health and environmental effects of the shells. The UK was the first of Ukraine's allies to provide the country with the ammunition, which is used in the Challenger tanks it provided to Ukraine. The decision by the UK to provide Ukraine with the weapons was denounced by Russian President Vladimir Putin at the time, who said the weapons have a nuclear component and that Russia would be forced to react. Russia has potentially lost up to half of its most advanced operational tank fleet since the start of the Ukraine war, including the newest T-90M Proryev breakthrough, which President Vladimir Putin called the world's best. Meanwhile, the Dutch open-source intelligence website Oryx, which has been collecting visual evidence of military equipment losses, said that the Russian army has lost at least 22 T-90M tanks since Russia's invasion began on February 24, 2022.